Howdy, folks! Happy Thursday. We're here. We've got a few things to talk about today, and we'll start the show with a little pre-show stuff. I won't be brief.
Happy Thursday.
It's not a show without that.
Well, you asked me. I had to answer somebody back, and I had to control the channel.
Yeah. Mr. Multitasker.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I will not bask in the glow of last night's show. I've tweeted. I have posted on my Facebook page. I was at the
social media coverage.
Yes.
Yellow.
Right. I mean, I think
Cohen was at a concert.
Russ posted video of the John Anderson show, and it was a great song. And I figured, okay, I got to do this. So I was surreptitious in my recording in the front row because I had a security guard right in front of me. So I'm like holding my phone down low.
He was making me laugh though. The guy was literally like this, just like he was like, nobody's rushing the stage.
He had earplugs in his ears. Not that
who's rushing is Sarah McLachlan.
That's what I mean. He looked like he was bored.
Please. I saw somebody, and this is years ago. I saw somebody charge the stage at a Fiona Apple concert. So
wow.
anything is possible. But just to say, saw Sarah McLachlan for easily the 20-something time. I've seen her a lot over the years. She's still phenomenal, still great voice.
That was good on the video.
And with a Philharmonic orchestra, she played in Toronto a couple nights ago. Played with the Buffalo Philharmonic yesterday. It was just great. It was a great night. It wasn't too hot. It was, I can't complain about the seat because I was essentially 10 feet away from her, and it was a phenomenal show. I love when a concert experience turns out well because it's just it's sort of an out of body experience, sort of. You just love the music and you just get into it, and it's great. Yeah. Okay, Russ. Today is the 38th anniversary of what? That would be August 1, 1981.
1981. I'm going to say 81. I'm going to say this time of the year, this is when Major League Baseball went on strike.
That might be the case, but that's not what I'm going for.
I know it's Jerry Garcia's birthday.
It is day. Want me to give it to you because we can't waste too much time. It was day one of MTV.
I did watch it too. Living on Long Island, getting Cablevision. We literally were the first in the country to have cable, and so I did watch it first day. And I'm like Facebook friends with Martha Quinn. Like it's fun. It was a fun time.
Oh wow! And Martha Quinn.
Not Facebook, sorry, on Twitter. I follow her on Twitter.
Nina Blackwood too. And we know, everybody knows the trivia. I think it's on Trivial Pursuit. What was the name of the first song?
Yeah.
The first video, which was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. I looked up the first 10 songs. Number 2 is You Better Run by Pat Benatar. I did not remember that.
Okay.
Number 3 is She Won't Dance With Me by Rod Stewart, not one of his bigger hits. Number 4 is You Better You Bet by The Who, which
that was in heavy rotation.
That was definitely in heavy rotation. Little Susie's On the Up by PhD.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Now here's one that was in monstrous rotation. We Don't Talk Anymore by Cliff Richard.
Yeah, that was horrible too.
It was horrible because you know what? I'm pretty sure they took the video from like an appearance on Solid Gold.
That's what it looked like. And
just used it as a music video. Brass in Pocket by the Pretenders. That one
That's a big one. Like that was
yeah, they beat that one into the ground. Time Heals by Todd Rundgren. I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I wish I could have skipped this one. Taken on the Run by REO Speedwagon.
Oh.
Hideous. And finally, Rockin' the Paradise by Styx.
I liked it. I have to admit it.
I liked it, but I'm pretty sure that's the one where Dennis DeYoung was dressed up like he was in a barbershop.
Because when I was driving in Jersey, driving across the Walt Whitman Bridge, last Saturday, of course, there was an ad for the Tropicana that had REO Speedwagon in concert.
God.
Actually, I believe
silver maned. It's like white mane. They all still have the long hair, but it's just like, you look like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I believe Jimmy Fallon and Paul Rudd did a fun video about Too Much Time in My Hands. Like, they do these fake videos, and I think they did one. They basically copy it, and they try and they make it funnier, and they did a really good job. I think that was one of the songs. But Mike, let's talk about the Major League Baseball trade deadline for a minute.
Gee, I was waiting for that one.
And well, I wrote an article on Sportsology. The one thing that I really took out of it, and this is just me as a baseball fan, some teams were just afraid to trade their prospects. They were. And it was interesting because when you heard some of the GMs and their spin, and look, it doesn't matter what organization you're from, if you didn't do anything leading up to the deadline, you had a story concocted. And Matt Klentak's was good in the sense that it was funny, but nobody beats Brian Cashman's. As a New York Yankee GM, he was just like, hey, you know what? We realized we were just better off with what we had. The prices were too high. That's basically the gist of it. And it's like, for the New York Yankees to say that is kind of a crime, considering they have the best bullpen and probably the best lineup in baseball, and will probably not win the World Series because they don't have a good starting pitching staff.
No, they won't win the World Series because the Houston Astros now have a top three of Verlander, Cole, and Greinke.
Well, that's part of it too. I mean, they could have gotten Greinke.
And the Yankees were not in on Greinke because Greinke it cannot pitch in New York. He's a guy who feels the pressure in the big market, and they know that, and plus he was $60 million for the last 2 years of the deal, and I don't think he would work well in New York. So, I mean, honestly, when I saw the report from John Heyman that Arizona wanted 4 prospects, including Clint Frazier, who's not a prospect anymore, he's a proven major leaguer, for Robbie Ray, who's a middle of the rotation starter. If I was Cashman, I'd tell these general managers to go F themselves.
Well, I mean,
no way.
Cashman definitely spoke to the Mets. Sorry.
And a lot of if you think about it, right? I mean, think about how many starters. I mean, you to say the Mets were proactive in getting Stroman. Yes. We knew he would go. But then after that, most of the starters, I mean, let's go going through it really. Think about the deadline.
Bumgarner stayed.
Other than Turkey, who else?
Bumgarner stayed. Bauer got traded to the Reds.
Bauer went to the Reds.
Right, that's the big three. The big three is Greinke, Bauer, and Stroman.
Right.
And then there were a couple others. There were a couple other minor ones too.
Minor ones though,
yeah, like Drew Pomerantz, guys like that.
Right, but it doesn't. But again, the Yankees were on the phone with the Mets about Zach Wheeler. You know he could pitch in New York. Yeah. They should have overpaid for him. Like, they literally should have. That's a situation where, you know what? That's where I think the Yankees are going to kick themselves down the road, and I think Brian Cashman is going to, at some point, it's going to hurt his job, I think.
Well, the cop out, and then we'll get off the baseball thing. But the cop,
they haven't won a World Series in 10 years. Yankees are not. That's
right. But the cop out that the Yankees used yesterday is, well, we're going to get Severino and Betances and Stanton back, and that's going to be like a trade. No, it's not like a trade. Those guys are hurt. I hate when people say, well, that's getting a guy back at the deadline. No, it's not. You're just getting back what you had before. You're not getting anything new back. Now, you could also say that the Yankees made their trade deadline acquisition about 4 weeks ago when they got Encarnacion away from Seattle, and that might be – but they needed a starting pitcher.
They needed a starting pitcher, and they got more hitting. Right. That is my basic point about what Cashman has done, and him trying to sort of act like, yeah, this is in the best interest of the club. This is what we liked. This is, what we're going to do because the prices were high. I'm not buying it. That's all.
And by the way, Toronto Blue Jays fans are ready for insurrection because not only did they get a lower value for Stroman than a lot of people thought, because apparently other teams like Minnesota came out and said, we would have matched that and given him more, but they never contacted us. It's sort of like the Joe Thornton deal to San Jose. And, if I would have known Joe Thornton was available, we would have given him a ton. That and then they trade Aaron Sanchez and his blister problem. They trade him and Biagini to Houston for a prospect who's not been able to break into the Astro lineup the last 3 years. And it's all because, Russ, and it comes back to hockey. I talked with someone and they were saying, well, Rogers is in financial trouble. They're laying off a bunch of people. Yeah. Rogers owns the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have cratered the last couple of years, and they're selling off all their – they're going to be the Miami Marlins and the Pittsburgh Pirates next year.
There's no question they're heading that way.
And, and I tie it in with that NHL contract. That was possibly the worst thing that Sportsnet did. They monopolized the coverage, but the problem is I think they thought it was going to be bigger and more lucrative for them, and it hasn't been.
Yeah, they're going to market Tatis and Bichette and hope that somebody's been asleep since the 90s, and they're going to go
Biggio.
And they think, huh?
Biggio, not Tatis.
Oh, Biggio, sorry. And hope that somebody's been asleep since the 90s and hoping they're seeing their dads.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, August 1st, 2019.
I'm Anthony Majoni from Sunrise Philly Magazine.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and thus begins the biggest and longest month of the year for a hockey writer, because there's usually nothing to write about in August. And this is the HockeyBuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Well, we actually had some news yesterday and a couple stories regarding some buyouts. And the first one, Russ, was a little bit of a shock. As I was in line for the Sarah McLachlan concert, I get a message from one of you guys saying that, I think it was Jan Levine, saying that the buyout window for the Rangers was expiring at some point last night, and we had all assumed that it was going to be Brendan Smith that was going to be bought out, and lo and behold, it's Kevin Shattenkirk. And I'm a little stunned at this. I realize that Shattenkirk has 2 more years at 6.6, whereas Smith had a $4.3 million cap hit. I just thought that Shattenkirk had enough there, and that they would want to keep him with the additions of Fox and Trouba on that blue line, but apparently Jeff Gorton decided against that.
This shows you the level of how desperate they were for cap space this year. There's no other way to put it, because this isn't the best move they could have done, but this is the best move they could have done if they needed the cap space desperately this year. So that's the plan. So we have to see how this plan sort of works out, because now next year, where they're going to carry something like $6 million in dead cap space. That's what we're told initially, right? So, yeah, I don't understand that. And I understand the logic that, well, you could just send Brendan Smith up and down between the AHL. Yeah, that's great, but you're still paying him $4 million, and he is not an NHL defenseman, not even close. At least Shattenkirk can play the part of an NHL defenseman, even if he isn't what he was. The part that really kind of bothers me here, though, is after the fact, when I see like Ranger fans are like, oh, well, his knee's a real problem. Maybe it was a botched surgery. It's like, hold on. Listen, the guy's not what he was, right? But he could still play hockey. And somebody is going to sign Kevin Shattenkirk, and somebody is going to say down the road, this wasn't the best of moves, but this is the situation they were in, the cap situation they were in. Obviously, there's something else planned. That's it.
Anthony, your thoughts?
Or they don't. And as you said, I mean, perhaps in the future, Russ, that they have something planned. But for now,
yeah,
again, you get the cap idea behind it, no question. It's just now, certainly personnel-wise, you're putting a little more onto Libor Hadjic.
Yeah.
We talked about yesterday, Avi, and we've talked about in previous shows how this is probably showing a lot of faith in him, and hoping that he can be a good, solid bottom pairing defenseman for the Rangers. But yeah, I have no question in my mind in terms of, personnel wise, having Shattenkirk would have made for a overall better deployment of their defensive personnel.
Yeah, I mean, let's be realistic.
Quickly.
Yeah, Hadjic's not getting the 28 points Shattenkirk got last year. He's not.
Exactly. He's not going to get in that number range. So, but, that's kind of where the Rangers are in terms of the decisions that they made. Plus, I think they're also a case they can stash Brendan Smith in the A and get themselves even more space.
Yeah, you can get $1 million if you stash him there all year.
Right, which they couldn't do with Shattenkirk.
No, they couldn't do that with Shattenkirk. But again, that's all well and good, but I just look at the beginning of the season and say, like you said, Hodgic's not a guarantee. Then you're looking at the rest of that blue line. You're saying, all right, Trouba should fit in. That's fine.
Fox.
Fox is going to fit in. D'Angelo has already shown he can play. But what if things out of the gate aren't perfect with Shea or somebody else? It's nice to have a Shattenkirk around that you could have put on the second power play, that you could still trust to bring the puck up the ice, even though he's not great defensively. Now you don't have that. So there really is no safety net for this defense if they do expect to contend, which right now they'll never say they expect to contend because Gorton wants to stay far away from that. But based on the moves, there's going to be a little bit of an expectation. And now on defense, they're just a little bit lighter than they were.
Now, Shattenkirk had an injury-plagued first season with the Rangers, 23 points in 46 games. Last year, played 73 games, 2 goals, 26 assists. Now, I didn't watch the Rangers as much as you did, Russ, but those are fairly decent stats.
Yeah, again, he was a train wreck defensively. I get it. But he could still skate well enough. People were like, well, in close, he wasn't good. Okay, look. The guy has a lot of mileage on him. He certainly was getting a little older. But it wasn't enough where that would say, let's just get rid of him altogether. Like, I wouldn't have done that. If nothing else, he'd have been a good insurance policy in case Hodgic isn't ready. Or one of those other things don't look great, or all of a sudden D'Angelo doesn't look great.
Well, if it is Hodgic, then that to me is a sign that they don't if they contend for a playoff spot, fine, all fine and good. But it's more likely that, okay, we want to get this guy, we want to play him, not have him be a seventh defenseman, not play in Hartford. We want him to be in the lineup, be in the top 6, and see what he is at the NHL level, and we can't do that with Shattenkirk around. So, I get that. Now the question is whether Shattenkirk. I think Shattenkirk will find a landing spot. I think that the question is though, is it going to be someplace where he can get the most money, or is at this late date is he going to take, say, a league minimum deal to go to a place that has a chance to win? Now I can throw out 3 or 4 team names, Tampa Bay, Toronto, Washington possibly. He was in Washington before, it didn't work out there, but
I don't think he'd go back to Washington.
I don't think he's going to go back to Washington. Yeah, I doubt that one.
But I do think it's possible he would take the minimum for the right fit. Now, considering that, he is a Connecticut guy, I think he'd probably want to stay on the East Coast. Now, Boston would certainly be a possibility.
Yeah, but they're loaded on defense.
Right. Today they are, but what if they did trade Torrey Krug?
Sure.
That would save him a lot on the cap. I'm not saying Shattenkirk's a replacement.
Right, but he's adequate. He's adequate.
Would they do something like that? I don't know.
Pittsburgh?
Carolina? Would Carolina consider it? Maybe. Pittsburgh? Yeah. I could see Pittsburgh. Although, do they have –
I could actually, that's the spot I was thinking more than any place is Pittsburgh, probably.
Yeah. I think it's going to be somewhere, though, close by.
Yeah. I mean, everything on the Eastern Seaboard is close by. If you're saying close by, then Devils, Islanders, Bruins, Flyers. If you're talking about a chance to win a Stanley Cup, then I don't know if I don't know if Tampa has
Philly. I can tell you that for a fact.
Yeah.
No.
Right. I mean, Tampa is depending on a lot of youngsters right now. Probably Cal Foote, the Cernak. Sergachev, they have a young defense because Girardi left and Stroman went to Florida. They re-signed Coburn, so Shattenkirk might see an opportunity there to play there on a league minimum for 1 year, put up a big amount of points, and then go free agency again next year. I think the same thing with Toronto. Now Toronto is at 48 contracts and they're up against the cap, but for a chance to sign a defenseman like Shattenkirk, they probably create space by trading somebody else out. But Shattenkirk on the second pairing with Jake Muzzin, moving Cody Ceci down to the bottom pairing, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to write about this later on, but I think he will find a job. If he goes out west, there's other opportunities, Edmonton, but, like you said, Russ, if he wants to stay close to home, then
I think that's probably what's going to happen. Just because it's happened, late in the summer here and catching on, I think that's probably the route he would go. So, yeah, we'll see him get a job. This is not like Wade Redden. Wade Redden, he had nothing left when the Rangers sent him down to Hartford. This is different. Shattenkirk has something left.
Now, the other one that was just announced about a couple hours ago was Michael Stone being bought out by the Calgary Flames. Now, the Flames, Russ, they're in a situation where they have a lot of good young defensemen. Anderson, Shillington, Balamaki. So they saw an opportunity there to clear out cap space and, because they needed to re-sign Matthew Tkachuk, that this was an opportunity to do so. I believe his salary was in the
It's like 3.5, I think.
Yeah, and according to this report, the Flames saved $2.33 million in cap space, and it cost them $1.16 million in dead money next year. So I think he was in the final year of his contract.
He was.
Yeah. So I don't think Stone's a bad defenseman.
No.
And I think he'll get a job too. But what do you think of this?
I think he'll get a job. I think Stone is definitely like a 6, but with experience.
Yeah.
Playing a good rugged game. A lot of teams would want him. I think this was a situation where last year he had injuries, so he was in and out. But if you get a healthy Stone, you get a fairly good defenseman, a guy that you don't really have to worry about. You're not getting points out of him. You're not worried about points.
Mm-hmm.
But you're getting pretty good play. And I think that's a lot of teams could use that. I think the Devils would look at someone like Stone.
Anthony?
I actually, Russ, I was just thinking the same thing in terms of New Jersey would be a candidate, certainly. Anybody's looking for, again, you're looking for a good, solid depth defenseman, especially for your bottom pair, I would say, in this circumstance. To me, Stone would fit in. But New Jersey, certainly, I think, in this circumstance is a very good fit. I would probably place them pretty high on the list of teams to go to.
If they had the cap space, I would suggest Vegas with his brother Mark being there. But
considering defensively, if they could figure out,
if he goes for the minimum,
goes for the minimum, that very well could happen. And again, I think Vegas does need, and it does need more of a rock solid type of.
And he knows the division. That's a good move for Vegas if they could do it.
That was the problem with Colin Miller. Is Gallant hated the way he played. He was more of an offensive type, and they wanted him to play more responsible defensively. And that's
Vegas. Yeah, I would think so. I think Vegas is.
Vegas would be good too.
Possibility, yeah. If they can, if he's going for the minimum,
right?
Or
Now, more on the Minnesota Wild GM search, which is now this is hilarious.
Wild search, go figure.
Yeah.
We're going to their name on this one.
Well, we talked about Hextall yesterday, and now there's a report in the Edmonton Journal this morning that Peter Chiarelli is potentially a leading candidate for the job. It's like, okay, where's Mike Gillis? Let's. How about Scotty Bowman?
He's out there too. It wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't shock me either.
Russ, how dumbfounded would you be if there's no general manager more criticized right now than Chiarelli, and his fingerprints are all over the Edmonton Oilers disaster to the point that Cates had to overspend to get Ken Holland on his retirement tour to come in and take over the Oilers. Come on, this is bad.
This is a league of redemption, Mike. You know that a lot of these guys get recycled. They just do. And I can't say he's not going to get the job. He's got a lot of experience. I look at it, and Ron Hextall will go in there, and he'll have his plan, and Chiarelli will go in there, and he'll have his plan, and Jordan Leopold will probably choose the guy that he feels like he could work with the best.
Mm-hmm.
A pretty hands-on owner, not a meddler.
Craig Leopold, right?
Craig, sorry.
Defenseman.
Yeah, Jordan hasn't made that kind of money. Yeah. Craig Leopold. And I think he'll decide who he's going to, want to work with. that, again, he's a guy that's pretty hands-on. So right now, I still think there are better candidates than both of those guys out there. And that's no slight to Hextall. I just don't know if it's a great fit for Hextall.
Yeah, I would concur in this circumstance. And it's interesting in terms of the permission to talk to him. You kind of wonder if they're trying to glean some ideas.
That's what I think.
In terms of, things that they may want to look at and then potentially put that in play with whoever it is that they're going to hire. So these are always the parameters, setting the parameters of the job and what they're looking for. So it's entirely possible. Yeah, I have a tough time seeing Hextall there, especially considering Leopold's desire versus what Hextall's reputation is right now in terms of as a one who's developing systems in this case. So yeah.
Okay. One of the reports here is that the Flames. No, I just mentioned. I mean, they've got their top four: Hamonic, Brody, Hannafin, and the Norris Trophy winner, Giordano. And they have those young guys on the blue line. There is a report here from Jim Matheson saying that they are interested in bringing in Alex Petrovic on probably on a league minimum deal, which would make sense in the sense that if they want a sort of a veteran safety net. If one of those young kids is not ready or they're going to be a 7th D and you don't want them playing, every once in a while and rather have him playing lots of minutes down in the American Hockey League, signing a veteran like Petrovic, if you think he has anything left, that makes a bit of sense. But I mean, the funny thing is Petrovic, I mean,
he's really work and he will drop the gloves.
Yeah, he really got jobbed by his hometown team. He gets traded by Florida to Edmonton, a team that was desperate for defense, and then they don't play him. It's like, and now I don't know how it was related to the switch over from their previous head coach to Hitchcock, but it seemed like that was a move for Hitchcock, and then he doesn't play him. So.
Well, based off of what we know about Hitchcock in the past, I mean, he may have, in the current scheme, adjusted his thinking on slower defensemen in this case.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, but
you're trying to hold on to a job.
Yeah, which he didn't do. Now, Eck posted just before the webcast.
Actually, I got a little bit of breaking news that I think we'll want to talk about.
Go ahead.
So. I just saw there's a tweet out there that says this Sunday the NHL Network will reveal its list of the top 20 centers in the NHL.
Okay, I'm tuning that one out.
And it's like our blah blah blah. David Satriano writes about 5 centers on the bubble. So I click on it, and 2 of the centers on the bubble. Like I don't understand why they're on the bubble, but. It says there's a subheading that says 5 who fell short of making the network's list. And Sean Couturier is on that list. And to be very honest, if he fell short of making that list, or even if they think he's on the bubble, the people making the list need to have their head examined.
Was the video on the tweet or on this preview attached to a commercial of the Addiction Network? Because that's usually what we see on the NHL Network these days.
No, but I mean, Anthony, I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless for the kind of play this guy puts in night after night, the guys he goes up against, the points he put up, the defense he plays. What else are you supposed to do at the center position? Tell me.
They want more offense. It's simple as that. And the crazy part is that Couturier provides offense.
Yeah.
He's constantly in the Norris Trophy talk. Yet he didn't make the list of top 20.
If we were talking Couturier 3 years ago, when his main claim to fame was he was the guy who shut down Malkin, then okay, he's on the bubble. But he's been scoring. He's their number 1 center. Yeah, he's a two-way. He's a poor man's Jonathan Taves. I'm
looking at the list right now. So they have centers on the bubble. They have our Taves, Couturier, Larkin, Duchesne, and Barzal.
Couturier should not be.
And they're in descending point order from 81 for Taves, 76 for Couturier.
And I dispute Larkin being on the bubble as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. But if I'm gonna choose between Couturier and Larkin, I'm gonna choose Couturier simply because he's a little better defensively than Larkin. But Larkin's really good. Again,
let's get to the quote on Couturier. So I want to hear the idea, because I think this is Mike Johnson who was involved with this too.
Okay.
Okay, so he goes to the normal numbers, the ice time, and everything else. And then Johnson says, I think he's underrated. I think he actually has proven himself to be one of the best centermen in the league. He drives play, kills penalties, matches up against our team's best lines, doesn't always have to play with the top player. We knew he was good defensively previously. We weren't sure about his offensive game, but we've discovered that the last couple of years. And that's it, end quote.
So which side is that proving?
Well, obviously, well, we're going to need to see, obviously, when they send out this top 20 list, which they are going to release on Sunday.
Right, I know, but it's like, all right, even if you're trying to build drama, this guy should not be on this list.
Yeah, but just we're feeding into exactly what they want. They want to they want to be controversial to generate traffic.
No, but there's one thing. I get what you're saying, Mike. There's one thing to be controversial about something, and then there's another thing when you look at it and you say that's just dumb.
Right,
just dumb.
It's insulting. I mean, I'm sorry. It's like I don't know.
Honestly, they're going to base this thing on a 5-year. They're going to probably a 5-year production window.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Between 2015 and the beginning of the 2019-2020 season. You're going to say, well, Couturier only gave us about 3 years of this, so that's the reason why he's out. Again, that's going to be their parameters for this, based entirely on offensive numbers over that stretch. And I bet you probably Claude Giroux will be on the list, even though he's no longer a center.
Right.
And will young centers like Matthews and Eichel, who have not been in the league for 5 years, will they be lower because they haven't played 5 years? If that,
I wouldn't be shocked. Would not be shocked. That bubble will be McDavid.
Right.
McDavid will be the one to bust that bubble. That's it.
Yeah. McKinnon, you'll probably have McKinnon and Crosby as 1-2, and with McDavid, even though McDavid's only been in the league for 4 years. I'm sorry. How about picking the top 20 centers right this moment?
That's what it should be.
Not this 5-year window crap.
I guarantee that's going to be their. That's
right. I think that's how they're doing it.
Parameters for. Now I'm going to look at the article again, as you guys are, because I'm just curious myself as to if this is what the parameter is, because I don't think they actually gave it as to how they're doing.
No, I don't think they gave it either.
I'm curious myself how they set this up. So let me see.
I'm sure it's a very secret formula.
Yeah.
So, did your favorite? So, leading the rush.
Awesome McDonald's.
I was to say like the formula for biscuit.
Yeah, there's no who missed the cut with the show producers and NHL Network analysts who made up the selection panel. So you've got show producers obviously involved with this.
Wonderful.
Why? Tell me why a show producer.
And I like Satriano. So does Satriano does fantasy? Is he big on fantasy? Because maybe how much of this members included on this. But yeah, there's no I don't see. They said I don't see a parameter set up here.
I'm going to give you a parameter. You want a parameter? How many show producers are at games? Really bona fide games where they can see.
Stat list here.
I know Satriani's a good guitar player, but
no. But half of my argument is a lot of times.
I think Dave does. I think he does a good. He does a good job.
I'm not casting aspersions on him.
Yeah. I'm not either. I'm casting it on if you're a producer and you're in the studio all the time. You're watching video and you're watching which is fine, but you're still missing that shown all in stadium, behind the play, things that we're
Anthony, I think I'm getting the echo from yours. Can you log back on?
Sure.
Thank you.
But there's things that you miss when you're watching it, even on television, and I just don't know why a show producer gets the vote. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, maybe it gives them something to do in August, like I said. But I'm sorry, this is clickbait. It really is.
That's my only click. I'm not going to watch now.
Yeah, no, I won't. Okay, Ack posted something tantalizing that the Sabres are preparing an offer sheet. Did not specify who, but he did suggest it was a RFA from a Western Conference team. And if you look at the list that we talked about yesterday, that's could be Kachuk, could be Rantanen. There's a number of free agents in the Western Conference teams. Where I quibble here, Russ, is you look right now at the Sabres. They have $3.1 million in cap space. They just signed Remy Ellie, one of their minor leaguers, on a minimum deal. They lowballed Linus Ullmark in arbitration. They have Jake McCabe yet to sign. Once they get those two guys signed, they'll probably have $1 million in cap space. Where the hell are they getting an RFA for $1 million?
That's a good question.
They can go 10% over, but do they really want, and this hints that they have a Ristolainen trade prepared and that they could trade Ristolainen to clear up the space. But you're painting yourself into a corner if you sign an offer sheet, and more than likely all you're doing is setting it up for the team to match it.
Right. Nah, I'm not buying it.
I mean, Ty Anderson posted something, his first blog back on Hockey Buzz, and he essentially said that offer sheets are a bunch of crap, and they are, because we had one offer sheet, and it was a complete and utter joke. And now, entering August, 6 weeks away from training camp, with the exception of the teams out there that have restricted free agents, nobody has any money. So why would those, unless you're Colorado and you have $15 million in cap space, but you're holding it for Mikko Rantanen, and you're deciding, oh, well, maybe I'll go and sign another restricted free agent to an offer sheet. They're not doing that.
No,
they're keeping their own guy.
Yeah, they're going to keep their own guy. So this is, as Michael, as you like to use the phrase, kabuki theater.
Yeah,
it is.
Where we are right now. And then, honestly, if it was the time frame for this to occur, mid-July at latest, probably in most cases, because then the money isn't necessarily all spent at that point.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any offer sheets coming in at this point. Again, if the Aho's, she's the best we're going to get, it's still weak sauce.
Oh,
yeah. And there was an article in the Buffalo News yesterday that basically, because the rumors are out there about the Sabres being interested in Jake Gardiner, but that would be tied to a potential Ristolainen trade. They couldn't sign Jake Gardiner right now if they didn't trade Ristolainen. It's money in, money out. If they sign him as a free agent, then it's following trading Ristolainen and assuming that you're not taking back big salary for him. And again, I don't think you're getting, unless they're content at getting less value than they would expect for Ristolainen, I don't see that happening. I see the window for trading Ristolainen, if they do trade him, is at the deadline, because that's when teams are going to want to upgrade their defense, and he'd be more valuable there because he's not a rental. He's got 2 more years left at $5.4 million after this year. So I think the Sabres have missed their window if they decided that they were going to trade Ristolainen, but they did make the Skinner deal in August, Russ. So anything is possible.
Anything is possible. We could run with that, but yeah, I don't think so.
All right, we'll do our game here, our usual 1-year contract, PTO or nada. But just to touch on a couple names that we've mentioned before and their surprising status in terms of not being signed. Patrick Marleau and Thornton are out there still. I'm curious to see what San Jose is waiting for, because I'm assuming after the departure of Pavelski that they want to bring these veterans back. It's probably a question of, how much they have to pay aging veterans. And I'm sure that Doug Wilson doesn't want to pay top dollar for them. And they've gotten top dollar before, Anthony. So if they're asking for $4 million a year, I'm sure Doug Wilson's going to say there's not a chance in hell. But if it's $2 million, okay.
Yeah, I think it's far more like if the number's that high for Marleau. I like Patty. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good player, but he has to know what the reality is at this point. And if he wants to go back to San Jose, and I believe I may be wrong. I believe his family's going back. They're there. So this is just a matter of time and waiting things out, and maybe just getting. There could be a case of where they might be able to work achievable bonuses in,
right?
But that gets them into a little bit of a hairy territory, depending on the cap. I think 1 year or $2 million probably makes sense. Maybe 2.5, and then with the possibility of escalators that could take him up to, based off ice time, based on how deep they get into the playoffs. Maybe it'd be achievable bonuses that get him up there. If that's the language that they're trying to work out here.
Yeah, he's definitely in San Jose right now because his adopted sons, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, have been on social media with Marleau and his kids in Northern California. So he's definitely there.
Car. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Right.
Plus, I got some breaking news before we. So this is interesting. Panini America signed Capo Keiko to a multi-year autograph card agreement. They don't have an NHL license now for cards, but I kind of wonder now if they sign Capo Keiko, are they going to get one? So I guess we'll have to sort of stay tuned. Maybe the NHL is going to add to that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Justin Williams, August 1st, and Justin Williams, team captain, is along with his general manager, Don Waddell, does not have a contract. Who's the owner there, by the way? And I'm a little surprised at this, Russ, unless we haven't heard an announcement yet whether he's retiring, which I would start to think that that's a possibility, him not signing a deal. They have cap space available.
Yeah.
So this is a little puzzling.
Maybe they're a package deal, Mike. Maybe Justin's not coming back if Don's not. I'm having some fun.
Or a twofer.
The most pairing ever.
I think Justin Williams is undecided. And I think it will come down to Carolina or nothing. And I think he's just probably enjoying his summer. He's probably in Margate on the beach. And he'll decide when he decides.
He's not in Margate anymore. I thought he has to play. He lives in Carolina now.
I think he still goes back to Margate.
Well, if he's in Margate, then we should have patrol the beaches.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he still goes back.
What's the elephant's name there?
Lucy.
Lucy. That's right.
Lucy knows for sure because I never go to Margate. I've been there like twice in my life. But point is, he's probably just enjoying summer, and at some point we'll decide. But guess what? There's no GM to call him and say, what are you doing?
That might be the holdup. And Dundon just doesn't know what to do.
I'm not going to use my own
executive to do the job.
I'm not going to use my own personal phone to call him. You have to give me a company phone. Well, you're not a member of the company right now, so we can't give you a company phone.
I mean, just remember, they're going to have to go to arbitration soon. They've got to have somebody with arbitration.
I don't think so.
No.
I think
okay.
No. And the other name is Gardner. We talked about that.
AJ Greer, you could take off. He got signed by Colorado today.
I'm sorry, who did?
Greer.
Oh, yes, AJ Greer. Yes.
A 1-year, 2-way deal. So they're literally down to Rantanen now.
Yes. And that was in question because, I mean, we remember Greer and Milano were interested in or involved in that incident in New York City. So,
that's pretty quieted down. So I kind of wonder if it's been dropped or going to be dropped.
Right. Okay. Some names that we haven't mentioned on previous lists for our 1-year PTO or nada. We'll skip Alex Petrovic. Patrick Maroon, who had a useful role in the Stanley Cup final for the Blues. I think he was a crash and bang player. the thing I've picked up on just on social media is that he's looking for a multiple year deal, and the Blues were only interested in 1 year deal. The thing is, later on in the summer, as it goes, you don't know whether he's waited too long, and will he get a 1 year deal for somebody? So Anthony, Patrick Maroon, 1 year PTO or nada?
I think if he would have gotten his, I think he would have already gotten his contract already. I think he's PTOville.
Russ?
Yeah, I'm going PTO because I think there was a 1 year deal to be had with him in St. Louis, and maybe the finances were higher than what the Blues wanted, so they just sort of didn't take it. That's it. I mean, that's his. That was his worth to the team. He had some worth, but they won their cup, and they probably feel like, look, we've got a lot of young talent here. We could survive without him. We're not going to break the bank for Patrick Maroon, and that puts him in a tough spot, and that's where we're at.
I think eventually he'll get a 1 year deal, but it might not be with St. Louis.
Right.
I don't think it's happening with St. Louis.
Yeah.
Injuries. If they have some injuries in camp, and they get laid in and they decide they want to bring him back, and he wants to come, then there could be a meeting of the minds then.
Devontae Smith-Pelly, who 2 years ago had a good playoff for the Capitals. Last year got sent to the minors, and then I believe was later recalled, and I think he played in the playoffs for the Caps. He's 27 years old, obviously a UFA, only scored 4 goals and 4 assists. But for teams looking for size and some experience, he might be enticing. Russ, 1 year PTO or nada?
PTO.
Anthony?
Same, PTO.
Yeah, I agree. PTO. I think, the teams have a right to be skeptical about his, I don't know if it's work ethic, I don't know what it is, but, the player who played at the same level, played at the level that he played.
The thing is, Michael, he has been a fringe National Hockey League player for his entire career. What gives him visibility is his role for that cup winner.
Yeah, true.
That gives him his visibility. Otherwise, he's a fringe NHL player.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was it. I think you're right. I think he reached his peak getting in that cup and having an impact on that team, but he's just not a great hockey player.
No, I mean, I think it was the year that he went to New Jersey. He played pretty well, and then that tailed off, and then he got moved. And, so, yeah, he's never been able to consistently put it together wherever he is. Okay, Russ, here's one for you. Former Ranger Oscar Lindberg, who was with Vegas, then got traded as part of the Stone deal to Ottawa. 27 years old, scored 20 points in 55 games. I thought showed when he was at the Rangers a little something that, some decent talent level. He's 27 years old, 1 year contract, PTO, nada, or I'll throw in Europe as an option.
No, I'm going to go 1 year contract. I could see the Columbus Blue Jackets maybe getting in on him because Torts did have a good run with him, and he could play center or wing. So he's a versatile guy. I could see him getting a 1 year deal.
Anthony?
Yeah, I agree with Russ. I think Lindbergh will find a landing spot sometime maybe in late August, I would say, and he'll a team who's looking for maybe a little. And again, Columbus, I think is you always have to look for the connections there, and I think I think Columbus is a possibility there.
Yeah, I mean he's got speed. He's not going to be, he can stay with the pace of the current game. So I think that works. Magnus Pajärvi, used to be Magnus Pajärvi Svensson.
Yeah.
Yes, but he dropped the Svensson. 11 goals in 80 games for the Ottawa Senators. He played a lot for the Sens. The Sens are going with a youth movement now, so I believe he's losing his job to one of a number of prospect forwards, whether it be Batherson or whoever. But he's still out there. Has good skill, but I don't know, Russ. 1 year contract, PTO, nada, or Europe?
I forget who we're talking about again.
Magnus Pajärvi.
These guys in the chat room are funny. I am going to say nada. I think he has just been getting worse, and I think teams are done with him now.
Okay.
He was never the fastest player, so.
Right. We'll go to the chat in a minute to see how funny they are. Anthony Pyarvi, what do you think?
10-year deal in Europe. In Europe, yeah.
He's gonna play with Shipachov.
Yeah.
I think he get a PTO from somebody, but if he doesn't hook on, he'll probably end up somewhere like the SM Liga or SHL or, Germany or Switzerland or someplace.
For the British League.
That's a fate worse than death. Come on.
Ooh.
Come on.
Brits.
All right, Russ, let's go to the chat. See if they have anything worthwhile to criticize. Or
a couple of the guys are feuding in the chat room too. So
always.
Okay, well, while they're feuding, I'll give you one more name, and then we'll go to the questions. Tobias Reeder, the favorite player of Peter Chiarelli, apparently, who had no goals in 67 games. when he was with Arizona a couple years ago, he was rather well thought of. He's only 26 years old. The question is, will he find somebody to give him a second chance? Anthony.
No. Going to Europe.
Europe. Russ?
Yeah, I think Anthony's right.
He said it. Hey, record it.
A broken clock is right twice a day, Anthony.
Is the air conditioning working today, Russ?
It is working spectacularly.
That's why we got nice Russ today. We got snippy Russ.
We have kind and gentle Cohen. All right. Let's take some questions in the chat and end the show.
All right. Let's see. Would the Habs take it? This is from Esmir. Would the Habs take a chance on Shattenkirk? I think they would.
Yeah, right defense is not their problem, though.
Doesn't matter. I mean,
I know, but if they have Petrie, they have Weber. I think they, if Shattenkirk was a lefty, I think definitely, but he's not, so I'm not sure. They have tons of money, so they could.
Mm-hmm. They could. Let's see. Mark says, does Shattenkirk go back to Colorado? I don't think so.
No. I'm not St. Louis, not. Hey, how about Chicago?
And he was never in Colorado either.
But he was early. He was drafted by Colorado and he played early in his career. He was
but I don't see Chicago.
Yeah.
No, I don't see it. All right, let's see. Steve asks, should the Leafs grab Michael Stone off waivers? Maybe.
Well, not off waivers because then they'd be taking over his contract. But I mean, after the buyout, okay. If you're the Leafs, who do you want? If you're into the buyout candidates, the ones that just who would you rather have, Stone or Shattenkirk? I think if it's Dubas, he wants Shattenkirk because that's basically the type of defenseman that he's been going out and he got Barry. He lost Gardner. I think they would rather have a Shattenkirk than Stone because Shattenkirk, if he's right, could play in their top four.
Well, coach went up to Dubas and said, I could use a Stone.
If you could get a minimum. But the problem is the Leafs are at 48 contracts. 49 is Marner. 50 is probably Neuwirth if he stays healthy. They would have to move out somebody like Marinson or Hall or Gravel, one of the guys that they have to create space for this defenseman, whoever it is. I don't know whether they can do it, whether they want to do it or will do it. So that's a complication to interest.
Yeah. I'm still looking. There's a lot of jibber jabber, as we would say. Give me another second here. Funky Cold Zadina put that Bogosian, will he be on LTIR after he sneezes? That's fun.
Zach Bogosian will be on LTIR until the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Every single freaking year.
Fash Out asked, could we get a drunk HockeyBuzzcast? The answer is no.
It would take Eck a while to get drunk on Bailey's.
You'd have to probably get us all at the draft, and
yeah,
but it won't get recorded. You'll have to be there for the live show,
right?
Yeah, no, sorry, not happening.
Nope, that's it. Nobody
Okay.
else has anything.
All right.
All right.
Hold on. Joe came in last minute. Does Andrew Ladd play this year?
Yes.
Yeah, he'll play.
Somebody will let him play.
Yeah, for in the British League.
He's a good lad.
Is he going to break in the English League? I know Theo Fleury had the record for PIMS. I don't know if he could break that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. All right. Great show, guys. Thank you, Anthony Mangione. Thank you, Russ Cohen. We will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.